policy. Research conducted by and for our Caribbean people is presented at the conference, with results and conclusions contributing to our overall progress in health. Research specific to our region, without doubt, is essential to inform evidence-based individual and collective health decisions. Throughout my career, I have attended, I would say, several, maybe many, quite a few, of these regional conferences, and have seized the opportunity to contribute in the past, and I also foresee further contribution and participation at the conference in the future. I can truly attest not only to profiting or benefiting from deliberations from cross-cutting edge research, but I have likewise enjoyed meeting and networking with colleagues, healthcare professionals, and policymakers. Last year, the conference took on a hybrid format with face-to-face and virtual participants. This year, we are pleased to see a return to an entirely in-person event in our Bahamas under the theme Caribbean Health and Tourism, Pathways to Recovery and Resilience. Yes, COVID is still with us. However, we have learned that with precautions, we can and we need to interact in our communities and across borders once again. So as we continue today, our first speaker this afternoon will be Dr. Joy St. John, Executive Director of Carpha. Dr. St. John has been making an impact in healthcare for many years. From her early influences in Barbados in the healthcare system, she advanced to serving as the first Barbadian Chief Medical Officer, a post which she held for 12 years. Her public health expertise and prowess later secured her the Assistant Director General position at the World Health Organization, and most recently, the leadership role she holds as the Executive Director of Carpha. Dr. John is undeniably making her mark in public health, with one of her most recent accomplishments being her notable leadership in the regional COVID-19 response. Now, I recall meeting Dr. St. John some years ago. I don't want to date her or myself, but some years ago when she was the Chief Medical Officer in Barbados. And when I think about an event that I guess one thing about her that I realized over the years is her, I guess, always prepared state. What I mean by that, certainly when we go to the World Health Organization, to the World Health Assembly, I recall looking over at Barbados, which is on the same seat as ours, same, I guess, seating, and I always see Dr. John pull out her a whole book of interventions. And as the different public health agenda items come up, she just turned the page, put up her card, and make the intervention when the time comes. I always said to myself, one day I'm going to be like that. So, Dr. St. John, I now invite you to bring remarks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Macmillan. Dr. the Honorable Michael Darville, Minister of Health and Wellness of the Bahamas. Mr. Colin Higgs, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health and Wellness. Other officials and staff of the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Mr. Reginald Saunders, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Tourism of the Bahamas. Mrs. Latia Dunscombe, Director General, Ministry of Tourism. other officials of the Ministry of Tourism. Officials of the Public Hospitals Authority, the conference planning teams of both Carpha and the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the Carpha staff, members of the media, virtual participants. Good afternoon. Thank you to the media for accepting this invitation to help disseminate the good news happening here in the Bahamas. It was just September when Carpha approached the government of the Bahamas to be the host country of this 67th Annual Health Research Conference, and here we are at the media launch of the event. This is remarkable and testimony to the efficiency and dedication of this ministry and the organizing committee. The Caribbean is known for its desirable tourism product and as a fabulous tourism destination. The Bahamas is one of the most sought-after spots, and the Caribbean is one of the most tourism-dependent regions in this world. Carpha therefore sees the partnership with the Ministry of Health and Wellness in co-hosting the appropriately themed Caribbean Health and Tourism Pathway to Recovery and Resilience Annual Health Research Conference as a serendipitous collaboration. Data published by the Caribbean Tourism Organization as recently as January 2023 has indicated that in 2022, the Caribbean was among the fastest recovering regions globally and would have reclaimed between 85 and 90% of total arrivals in 2019. Some individual destinations surpassed their 2019 levels with record-breaking performances, while others are approaching the benchmark levels of 2019 and are expected to equal or exceed these levels in 2023. I am pleased that the contribution of the Tourism and Health Program of Carpha has seen some safeguarding of the region's product during the most challenging parts of the pandemic through such measures as the Healthier, Safer Tourism Stamp and training in the proper use of personal protective equipment. These tailor-made initiatives, in no small measure, assisted in the resilience referred to by the Caribbean Tourism Organization. Our visitors really believed that the Caribbean was a healthier, safer tourism destination. With these outcomes of a real-time global pandemic, Carpha will continue to focus on optimizing the balance between the socio-economic impacts with the public health impacts of any measures that we recommend. The preservation of these gains will be Carpha's way of applying lessons learned during COVID-19. Members of the media, please prepare to capture some of the relevant research findings that will be presented during our conference in April. I am happy that Carpha was steadfast in its recognition of the value of public health support to the tourism industry in this region, and even more proud of the Carpha Annual Health Research Conference being a platform for showcasing ongoing research to help us Caribbean people better understand the intricate linkages between tourism and health. As an advocate for Caribbean research, although Carpha has thematic areas of focus annually, the research committee accepts all research which adds value to the future development of policy initiatives. This is an avenue for researchers, especially young researchers, to learn more about the exciting findings coming from the Caribbean or being produced by Caribbean people. This is a space for networking and gaining insights into the topics in the feature lectures or the businesses which will exhibit here. Carpha will continue its tradition of awarding Caribbean excellence in health research at the conference, and this year is no different. We will also have a special banquet and celebrate during a night of elegance. Stay tuned, follow the conference updates, register to attend, and you will soon know who the awardees will be. Pre-conference meetings are also now a staple at the annual Health Research Conference. Therefore, Carpha provides for a week-long experience for scientists and professionals to have an immersion in meetings in their specialized subject matter and to discuss health matters that contribute to regional public goods. I thank the government and people of the Bahamas, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and Minister Darville for welcoming this opportunity yet again. This will be the 4th time co-hosting the event in the Bahamas. I assure you the benefits that will be accrued from the partnership will reap dividends for all. I thank the members of the media for your support and encourage you to help Carpha attain its mission: healthy people, healthy spaces, healthy Caribbean. I look forward to seeing you all at the conference in April. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. St. John. We look forward to hearing more from you during the conference in April. Our next speaker, although beginning his career with a passion for engineering, soon realized that the field of medicine and healthcare was where his true passion resides. The Honorable Dr. Michael R. Davil is a seasoned physician, cabinet minister, and member of parliament. Since coming to office in 2021, Minister Davil has committed to and works tirelessly toward the transformative healthcare agenda. I now invite my minister, the Honorable Dr. Michael R. Davil, Minister of Health and Wellness, to the podium.
Thank you, Pearl, for those kind words. Standing on the appropriate protocol, I would just like to extend well wishes and greetings to Dr. St. John and her team, and special welcome on behalf of our Prime Minister and members of the Cabinet. We realize that you did speak at the CARICOM conference, and your contribution was well received as part of the agenda of those meetings. It's good to have you in the Bahamas and to extend our hospitality to you and your team, as was extended to me and the CMO when we were in Washington, D.C. Earlier today, Dr. St. John and I had a very productive meeting, sharing our experiences and finalizing plans for the hosting of the 67 CARICOM Public Health Agency Scientific Conference that will be held here in the Bahamas at the beautiful Atlantis Paradise Island Resort on April the 27th to the 29th of this year. I am pleased to report that despite all of the public challenges that we continue to face as a region, thank God we are experiencing positive signs of economic recovery throughout the region and locally, and our tourism industry is rapidly rebounding despite the many economic shocks and the negative impacts that we all face from the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. St. John, the last time we met in Washington, D.C., we spoke about hosting the 67 Carpha conference in the Bahamas, and I'm so excited that you're here with me today at my ministry as we begin now to lay the final foundation for this conference under the theme Caribbean Health and Tourism, Pathways to Recovery and Resilience. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bahamas, like other Caribbean neighbors, know all too well about the recovery and resilience, and when many of us hear the word hurricane, natural disasters, and more ever climate change, deep emotions come to the surface, and for many of us who was in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian tremendous pain. On July the 10th of this year, the Bahamas would celebrate 50 years of independence. And when we reflect on the time spent and the natural disasters we face as a nation over the last decade, it speaks clearly of the resilience of our people and the recovery mechanisms that are currently in place. Although there are many factors that contribute to our strength as a people, we remain grateful to the regional partners and the organizations like Carpha, who provide evidence-based information, scientific research to assist countries like the Bahamas with public health strategies and methods of recovery post-disaster. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a firm believer that when we collectively collaborate, we are able to improve on our healthcare delivery systems, food security, and improve the productivity of our people by reducing the incidence of chronic non-communicable diseases throughout the region. The Bahamas remain committed to addressing the issues of health tourism to promote healthy and safer tourism products, both locally and regionally, as part of a pathway for recovery and resilience. I urge our tourism partners to register and be trained in order to be awarded the Healthier Safety Tourism Stamp. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, this conference brings together experts from across the region to our shores to share their experiences, their successes, solutions, challenges, and strengths that they experience from products from Carpha. We are excited that this year's conference will be held in the Bahamas, and I assure you that we will do all in our power to ensure it will be successful, and our local medical fraternity will benefit from the evidence-based research and hopefully receive the essential CME credits that would be affiliated with the conference. So on behalf of the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and the team from my ministry, I express my sincere gratitude to you, Dr. St. John, and your team for your partnership and support over the years. Once again, I'd like to thank the media, houses, and virtual participants for your continued assistance as we partner to promote health and wellness both at home and throughout the region. We are looking forward for sharing information and networking so that this year's annual health research conference that will be held at the beautiful Atlantis Resort on April the 27th to the 29th, 2023 will be a complete success. Please join us at this conference as we begin to display many of the research and information modalities that would become available as a result of our scientists across the region. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Darville, for reminding us that we are stronger together and our collaboration makes a difference in the region. We will now entertain questions for Minister Darville or Dr. St. John. Online participants, I think we have some online participants. You can use the raise hand feature if you have any questions. Oh, we're going to type? Okay. We are asking you, if you are online, to please type your questions in the chat, and then they will be relayed to us. So we now open the floor for questions. Wow. Not all at once. Were we that clear? Oh.
Can you, I guess, give us a bit more detail in terms of exactly some of the topics that will be discussed at this year's conference? I asked the Minister of Health like last week if we will discuss things about, I guess, some diseases that may affecting the region, like the one that was happening in Haiti. I don't remember it right now. But just some of the topics that we're going to be discussing, who's expected to attend the conference.
I think Dr. St. John will be
best to answer that question.
So we're hoping that we get some research papers that deal with tourism and health as a collective or tourism on its own. And we have the usual conference topics: child health, maternal health, infectious diseases, HIV, sexual and reproductive diseases, public health topics of interest, like what you said. I think you were referring to cholera. Anything that is topical that meets the standard, because we have a research advisory committee that is reviewing specific papers. Lorna, I think that we had over 200 submissions this year? 160. So they actually review, they have to be up to a standard, and then once that is complete, we will put them together in groupings. But we have a following, and there are certain topics like non-communicable diseases that always come. So we will accommodate them as well as things about the theme. Who do we expect? Public health professionals. This year, the minister has intervened in such a way that we are not only going to have the chief medical officers meeting just before the conference, but also the ministers of health. So I'm hoping that some of the ministers of health will take in a day or two, and chief medical officers also attend. But there's a whole research community, usually Caribbean, but also people who live in the diaspora. They come to the meeting. There are a lot of young researchers. A lot of young researchers come along to hone their skills. There are businessmen, there are allied health professionals, and it's a wonderful place for networking. And it's not just English-speaking Caribbean. We also get people coming from the French Caribbean as well. So it promises to be an interesting space. Did I answer your question?
Okay. You have something? Go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Lindsay Thompson, Bahamas Information Services. Dr. Darvel, we're in our 50th Independence Anniversary celebrations, and we have a lot of traffic, people coming to the Bahamas. Can you tell us how to speak to our post-COVID alertness or protocols that we still have in place to accommodate all these bodies coming here?
Thank you. That's an excellent question. But before answering that question, I would just like to elaborate a little bit from what Dr. John said. One of the things that we are trying to do with this conference is to attract the medical fraternity and our healthcare professionals to attend. It's very important because topics like post-COVID recovery, looking at some data, all of these things will be a part of the conference, and at the end of the day, our medical fraternity will have some additional tools to be able to function more effectively in the community. It gives our doctors, our nurses, and some of our allied healthcare professionals an opportunity to sit in a scientific environment so that they can sharpen their skills, and while doing so, add to the professional bodies the necessary CME credits that would allow for the additional registration the following year. Our Prime Minister has now taken over the chair for CARICOM, and part of the agenda is also health and health delivery system strengthening. We intend to play a pivotal role in the region to demonstrate the importance of healthcare strengthening for all of us in the region to be able to provide more sophisticated and more well-structured healthcare products throughout the region. Coming out of COVID-19, we realize that many of our healthcare systems were not prepared for an event of the magnitude COVID-19 presented to us. I can speak about the Bahamas. We had challenges in our healthcare system. And with COVID, we began to see gaping holes as a result of the demand to provide healthcare services for people suffering from infectious diseases. So as we begin to develop our healthcare systems, we must take into consideration the infectious disease component, and being a tourism country where the bulk of our revenue, our GDP comes from tourism, we must be mindful that as we attract visitors into our region, we must ensure that our public health protocols are in place to handle any event that may prove to be detrimental to our tourism product. And so you can rest assured that the Ministry of Health, Public Hospitals Authority, and all of the other agencies that are affiliated with the ministry are now working out necessary protocols to find ourselves in a better position, God forbid, we do run into a situation similar to COVID-19. And so as the weeks and months go ahead and as we begin to see our tourism product grow, we will put in place more robust protocols at our ports of entry, our cruise ship passengers, and working closely with the necessary agencies to have a stronger digital platform to know who's on board and what is happening. And Carpha has been instrumental in that as well. We use them tremendously in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, and they have assisted us tremendously in order for us to be able to hold on to the residual tourism product and rebound very rapidly post-COVID. Thank you.
Okay, I understand we have a question that is logged in the back. Okay, they're monitoring.
I can go ahead.
You can go ahead.
Yes, we have a question. Yes. What are the roles and functions of Carpha, including training and capacity building? Will there be opportunities for training at this year's conference?
Dr. St. John, I think that would be you.
It shouldn't be the minister. Carpha is a CARICOM institution, and also it has intergovernmental agreements with its 26 member states. And because it is the amalgamation of 5 regional health institutions, we have a wide variety of work streams, I like to call them, including training. So we have the tourism and health program that you would have heard about, and then we have the traditional programs of surveillance, disease prevention and control. In my office, there is research, there is policy, there's Caribbean regulatory system, where we actually review new medicines coming into the CARICOM market to ensure they are of the quality that they should be for this market. We also have non-communicable diseases and injuries also in my office, and we have officers posted in the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States who supports the work of the OECS and our OECS territories. We also have field epidemiology lab training program, basic or frontline and intermediary, where we actually train persons in the rudiments of practical application of things that are needed in pandemics. We also have vector control, vector-borne disease, and we would have recently detected a case of Zika. We have a very strong research element. Carpha itself does quite a bit of research, operational research in public health. We have disaster preparedness and response. We have, let me see, have I run out of work streams yet? I'm sure that I've forgotten a couple of them. So the question was, what do we do, and what's the other part of the question? Oh, training, yes. Well, the field epidemiology and lab training is a specific training program, very much desired by our member states. And we also have training in the different fields, the specialty areas. For example, tourism and health did a lot of training of the security sector in the correct use of PPE to protect them. There was a lot of training of the tourism sector in how to re-engineer the processes to minimize the effects of COVID-19 on the tourism product. And we've also had training in vector-borne disease. We are going to have in the margins of the conference, we are going to have specific training, research methods, and so on offered to the host country if they want to take it up. So Carpha has quite a wide range of training activities, not just under field epidemiology and lab training, but also under the specific subject matter. We go into countries, review their surveillance and disease epidemiology programs and support them in that way as requested.
Thank you, Dr. St. John, for giving us all of the nuts and bolts of what the Carpha agency, not all? Okay. That's okay. I'm sure we'll get more at the conference. So I have been advised that we should wrap up now and that the questions that are in the chat will be answered by email. So as we move to closing, what I would like to say is I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the media for joining us here today. We look forward to seeing you at the 67th Annual Health Research Conference to be held when? April 27th to the 29th. Where? At the Atlantis Resort, Paradise Island. All right? I encourage international, regional, and local researchers, scholars, students, and all interested to register for this exciting conference experience. Not only because it's being held on one of the 700 picturesque islands and keys of the Bahamas, but because it is important that you be a part of this event, which will elucidate the interconnected pathways between health and tourism, shaping a resilient, how this will shape a resilient Caribbean region, not just for now, but for future generations. So the conference, as we know, will be dynamic, educational, and provocative, as is customary. Taking the time to experience the beauty of our island, or islands, we have many, and our peoples will be the bonus. So we invite all, far and close, to come and enjoy our country and enjoy the conference. Thank you all.